got an example of Bidenomics here. 7-Eleven mini mart chain, biggest in the world. It's going to close nearly 450 stores nationwide. One of the reasons they're claiming they're doing this is because of a decrease in cigarette sales. That makes sense to you? Yeah, me neither. Let's get into it. Here we go. I'm a big mini mart fan. I talk about mini marts, and I think it's because, spending 30 years on the road as a real estate appraiser, you got to stop in at a mini mart, even if it's just to get a water or whatever. You're not getting lunch there because rely on lunch at 7-Eleven. No, you get some kind of snack, something to break the monotony of driving around looking at homes all day. And 7-Eleven, you walk into every 7-Eleven, they all got the same stuff, right? It's a miracle, right? It's a miracle. Plus, they're open at weird hours. Who doesn't love a 7-Eleven? Convenience store 7-Eleven will close over 400 stores nationwide, companies announced. According to CNN, this should be accurate, right? 7 and 1 Holdings. Is that 7 and 1 or 7 and I Holdings? Probably 7 and 1 Holdings. The chain's Japanese-based parent company. Remember when they used to be owned by the Southland Corporation? Yeah, well, all these companies just, let's get bought up by that. We got to go back to being American-based. Now we're based out of Japan. Japan-based parent company announced the closures in their earnings report on Thursday. Under the proposed measures, 444 locations of 7-Eleven will be shut down due to a fall in sales. Okay, you got a fall in sales because people can't afford anything. Everything has gotten so ridiculously expensive. High inflation. Well, okay, those two kind of work hand in hand. People literally can't afford to run into a mini mart and buy something that is 60, 70 cents more expensive than what you pay at a grocery store, and sometimes more, depending on the product, right? For that convenience of just running in, running out, not having to screw around with all that big, where is it in the grocery store? So you got fallen sales, you got high inflation, and a decrease in cigarette purchases. That one to me is interesting. I haven't followed the smoking demographics. I don't know. One of the things that I notice is people in Seattle, you can always tell somebody who's from out of town because people in Seattle, for the most part, just don't smoke. It's just not a thing. It's not culturally acceptable here to smoke. So, but if you smoke, hey, that's your call. Do your thing. I always remember getting on an airplane and flying to Australia when I was a kid, and you just hoped you weren't right behind that dude that was just smoking that cigarette the whole 17-hour trip or whatever it was. I think we used to fly into wherever, a long trip, maybe it's a 12-hour stint we were doing, but man, that was just tough to take as a kid. You come off and you're like, can't breathe. North American economy remained robust overall, thanks to the consumption of, here we go, high income earners. So all the folks out there with all that money, you guys got to keep spending it. Otherwise this economy is just going to fall apart. So you got the consumption of high income earners, despite a persistently inflationary, elevated interest rate, and deteriorating employment environment. Yeah, that's, the economics of where we sit right now, despite what the Harris-Biden campaign would tell you. You know what I mean? Like, everything is great. It's awesome. This is the best. And you're like, yeah, why is 7-Eleven shutting down 450 stores? You know what I mean? There was a more prudent approach to consumption, particularly among middle and low income earners. A more prudent approach to consumption, meaning we don't have a lot of discretionary income. We are not spending it on some overpriced snack at 7-Eleven. We're not doing it. We just can't do it. My favorite mini marts are now Chevron gas stations. And I don't know why it's come to that, but so one of the 7-Elevens by my home, it got closed down because it got robbed so many times. And then another 7-Eleven got closed down. It became a 4 Guys mini mart. That didn't work. It was, some local 4 Indian dudes that thought, hey, we can do a mini mart better than 7-Eleven. Well, it didn't work. And now it is a Muslim prayer center. It's Bellevue. It's what we're doing. And so my mini marts they're Chevrons. So one of my Chevrons Last summer, somebody came in and did an armed robbery, and they tore out the cash register from the, front desk. Just terrible. And then recently, my other favorite mini mart, we had an armed robbery at 11:40 on a Sunday evening, and they robbed the patrons that were also in the store at gunpoint. And it turns out they were 16 and 17-year-old kids, and they are in custody now. Bellevue police got them. There's a big bust. And so I was talking to the owner, and I said, you know what? Those kids aren't going to get much time. If they're first offenders, those kids aren't going to do much time. They're going to be right back out. Watch out. There is a more prudent approach to consumption, particularly among middle and low-income earners, because folks are feeling the hit from inflation, and even high wage earning folks are like, man, everything has gotten so expensive, and prices, that whole transitory inflation we were promised about, transitory inflation. Oh, it's just going to be transitory. It's going to be temporary. That's the price we have to pay for Joe Biden instilling a bunch of his legacy stuff that makes no sense, like the Inflation Reduction Act. How about that one? How's that working out? Did inflation reduce? Yeah, inflation's gone down, but we're still stuck with these absurdly high prices. Gas has finally come down in the state of Washington. Man, it was high. In a statement provided to CBS, the company spokesperson insisted the decision was about optimizing their portfolio. It's when we get into the corporate nonsense, right? Here we go. Corporate speak, here we go. Aligned with our long-term growth strategy, we continuously review and optimize our portfolio to deliver convenience where, when, and how customers need it. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? Continuously review and optimize our portfolio. No, they're shutting down the stores where they're getting robbed the most. Oh, yeah. Did I say that out loud? Oh. Yes, it did. Is that a component here? Absolutely. Absolutely. But we're dancing around it. Yeah, we got higher income earners. They're still spending the money, but it's one component, right? You have inflation. You got people who can't spend money. You got a product which is outrageously expensive compared to other stores. Okay. Yeah. In Bidenomics, this model isn't going to do well. As part of this, we made the decision to optimize a number of non-core assets that do not fit into our growth strategy, meaning these stores suck. These stores suck. They continued. At the same time, we continue to open stores in areas where customers are looking for more convenience. That's all you need. You need to desire more convenience, and 7-Eleven will build it. Build it, and they will come. No. So what they're saying is they're going to open stores in areas where people need more convenience. Okay. Yeah. Right. I mean, when don't we need more convenience, but have the affluence to pay for it? That's the most critical aspect here. And are also in areas where they don't have people robbing their local 7-Eleven to the point where it gets shut down. Yeah. There's that. When does a 7-Eleven get shut down? You know what I mean? When is 7-Eleven not a good business model? Well, now in Washington State, they're just not. The one 7-Eleven by my home that I used to go to, I have not been there for a couple of years. What we had happen is King County bought a homeless shelter that used to be, they bought a homeless shelter, but they bought a Silver Cloud Inn, and they converted that into, 160 units of homeless, accommodation, single room units. So now we got a bunch of homeless people running around that so many of them are just whacked out of their mind on drugs, and they all congregate at the 7-Eleven. I won't go there. You'll see him sleeping out in front of there. And I'm like, yeah, not doing this. I'll go around the corner. I'll go to Chevron. At the same time, we continue to open stores in areas where customers are looking for more convenience. So you just need that whole convenience thing. You need to really be looking for your convenience. So 7-Eleven was founded in 1927 in Dallas, Texas. Man, I didn't realize it was that old. I would have said in the 40s. As Totem a small convenience store selling ice, milk, and bread. In 1946, the name changed to 7-Eleven to reflect its extenuating operating hours. And I bet you didn't know this. Actually, you do. They're open from 7 until 11. Actually, it goes 7 until boop, all the way around, all the way back up to 11. Yeah, that's how that goes. 7 to 11, which was unheard of. And even when I was very young in the 70s and we'd go into a 7-Eleven, it was kind of that unmentioned thing that, hey, this store is open. This is weird. And I think by the mid 70s, they were 24 hours open, 24 hours a day, something like that. I remember that pretty clearly too at some point. Right. And then there was bankruptcy. 7-Eleven's had wild history. It eventually grew into a global franchise with Japan's 7-Eleven Holdings acquiring it in 91. Today, it's one of the largest global convenience store chains with over 84,000 stores worldwide. So big corporate is not going to talk about the stores being closed in neighborhoods that have a lot of robberies. They're just not going to do that. They're going to throw us off with, hey, there's less cigarette sales going on. Are cigarette sales that big of a component of a mini mart's profit? I mean, probably, right? How much is a pack of smokes now? Is it like, it's like $12? I'm totally guessing. I think they're north of $10 a pack. I know. I remember in Australia a couple of years ago, they were trying to get the pack of smokes up to, I think it was $45 to just basically push back on people smoking because it's, kills so many people. But you know what? If you want to smoke, and if you're not smoking in my air, you know what I'm saying? All right. Okay. Gone through many homes over the years that have been smokers' homes. And if they want to smoke themselves silly inside the home, it's America, right? Got to make those choices. The closures are further evidenced by the underlying problems within the American economy. Despite claims by the mainstream media and liberal economists that the country has never been wealthier, I take great exception to that. Yeah, it is. And, maybe you can find some stat out there that shows some portion of the American economy doing really well and segment of people doing really well. But it's not the people that I'm running around with. It's not. People are like, man, things have gotten expensive. And so for those on the lower end of the social economic, they've really been impacted because they were barely holding on before. And now with, a little bit of inflation and a lot of inflation in some things, it's just way more expensive for people to just live. It's expensive. And then you got rent and then you got mortgage payments. I mean, man, according to the U.S. Misery Index on Economic Indicator that assesses the economic distress felt by average Americans, the years that the Biden regime has been in office have all had a higher average misery index. I did not know that. But my own personal misery index went through the roof during the last couple of years, mainly because the real estate industry has just been brought to its knees because of that sudden rise in interest rates, which had to do with that temporary inflation. Yeah, the inflation eased, but the prices haven't. It's weird how that works, isn't it? Yeah. Hey, prices are going to be coming down anytime soon. Grocery store, they're going to drop all your prices anytime soon. No, they're not, are they? No. So back in 2019, when Donald Trump was in power, the U.S. Misery Index was at its lowest point in over 60 years, dating back to the presidency of Dwight D. Eisenhower. Weird. Misery is high under Biden, really low under Trump. That's strange, isn't it? Yeah. Now, economically, we had some of our best years under Trump. You had sustained growth. You had inflation under 2%. You had no wars going on. You didn't have all this craziness going on. You didn't have, he's just got a speech impediment. It's going to be fine. He'll be fine. And all of a sudden, boom. No, next. Let's throw the vice president in there. I mean, she can kind of hold a conversation-ish. Let's throw her out there. See that Kamala Harris went on Call Her Daddy, the old sex advice for women podcast. It's the number 3 podcast in the United States. But I thought that was interesting. Kamala Harris went on there before she went on, Howard Stern. That guy's just an idiot. I'm sorry. Howard Stern, the shock jock, right? All right. But getting back to our misery index, lowest point in 60 years. And I remember that during, 2016 through 2020. I remember things just kind of chugging along in this predictable pathway, business-wise, and stock market was doing really well. Real estate was, doing really well. People felt good about what was happening. And I think even folks on the lower end of things felt like they were getting a fair deal during the Trump administration as far as working hard, getting ahead, doing all that, and that they were getting a fair shake. I don't think anybody's felt a fair shake coming out of these Biden years because he just dumped all those trillions of dollars on top of the economy when we should have never closed the economy down. But that's kind of water under the bridge now, isn't it? Well, kind of, because we're still grappling with the pricing of things and just how absolutely insane things have gotten. Buying meat at the grocery store. Good Lord. You need to take out a home equity loan to get some of the good steaks, right? It's shocking how quickly that happened and how things will not go back. And we all knew that would happen. And that's why we complained about Bidenomics with this, temporary inflation. It's transitory, Sean. It's just going to go away. It'll be here one day, gone the next. But the lasting effect is you've driven up those prices. They ain't coming down. 7-Eleven, they're not telling the full story here. They're just not doing that because they don't want to crap in their own backyard, right? All right, guys. Yeah, we're closing all the 7-Elevens down in the local areas where they're robbing us and it's just not safe. Yeah, we can't have any more of our folks getting hurt. And we've seen all of the stories where you've got a group of LA, 50 kids rushing in and just robbing a 7-Eleven blind. We've seen those stories. I've talked about them. It's going on. So, falling sales of cigarettes? Okay. I mean, if that's what you're going to tell me, I'm going to say, all right, I believe that you are telling me that. Not necessarily that you are telling me the truth, but anyway, 450 stores to close nationwide. Hopefully, it's not a 7-Eleven near you. All right. That's it for me. Thanks so much for being here. Catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.